I'm Nicole, and I've been asked to share my experience and also some advice that I have. But the advice I'm going to give is not specific to Edinburgh University. It'll be applicable to a lot of master courses, so doing a master's in general. Some will be more specific, but yeah, in general, even if you decide to go for a different university, this should be helpful for you. So why am I qualified to actually talk about this? And now you can go over to the next slide. Thank you. So I've been quite loyal to this university. I've done my undergrad in computer science. I've done a master's in design informatics, and I am now doing a PhD in usable security and privacy, also at Edinburgh University. The things you can see on the right-hand side, these are scrolls, and you get a scroll whenever you graduate your degree. These are not all mine, so between me and my husband, we have about 4 scrolls, and hopefully we'll get 2 more. So I feel like we should do something to arrange them in a nice way at home. But so far they're just lying in the cupboard. As you may notice, I've graduated my master's in 2019, and I'm set to finish my PhD study in 2025. It is a 4-year program, but you can see there's 6 years in between, and I will come back to that at a later point to talk about what happened in between. Could you go next slide, please? Thank you. So, contrary to what most people do in computer science at Edinburgh University, I am not focusing on machine learning. I have very little to do with machine learning. So although I was trained in computer science, my heart was kind of always more in the arts. I always saw technology as a kind of tool to help people. So I always wanted to, I like people. I wanted to understand, how do people use technology? How does it help them, and how does it obstruct them in a way? And you can see here, this is the kind of triangle of what my interests are. And this is not developed from the first day I did my undergrad or my master's, actually. I started thinking more about it during the last years of my undergrad, when I was trying to figure out what is it that I want to do. So I figured out, okay, I like kind of technology solutions. I want to understand what makes technology helpful for us and what not. And I enjoy the creative methods. And this is something that I learned more about during my master's, understanding, okay, how can I introduce art into research or into any kind of technology part, right? For me, it was always kind of a bit separate, and that helped me to kind of bridge the topics a bit more. And I like this is quite, it looks like, oh, I have it all figured out what I want to do, but actually this was something that developed over time. So and just I figured it more out as I went along. Could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So just to give you a bit of an overview of what my research focus is. So my research focus is on smart speakers like Amazon Echo or Google Home. And I'm looking specifically at cohabitants and visitors, because the account owner is the person who's going in and introducing this device into their home, but all the other people who live and share this device, who live with them and also might share this device, like visitors who come by, or cohabitants like the partner or family, they're kind of exposed to the risks. They don't know that the device is there, and they don't have the kind of level of control. This is part of my thesis, of my PhD thesis. But you can see it is kind of related to technology, as we're looking at smart speakers and the kind of surrounding smart homes. But it is more about the people. So what is it why are people uncomfortable? Why are they concerned? And how can we help the technology kind of move closer to what the people expect? So for me, it was all about people. So let's go to the next slide and see, because I've try to present a couple of the courses that I have enjoyed. If you are also interested in the kind of people bit, these are courses obviously specific to Edinburgh University, but there might be similar things anywhere else. But I really enjoyed this, and I'm actually quite pleased to say. So the human computer interaction course is one that you can take during your master's. All of them you can take during your master's. And this is one that I'm going to be teaching next year. So I was asked to teach it because yeah, they need someone to teach it who has the expertise in it, and I have been supporting that course for years, so I'm quite happy to say that I'm teaching it. And what it is about understanding how users influence the technology lifecycle and introduce methods to work with people and in the research. Then there's the usable security and privacy course that talks about how to make privacy easy for people and security. So it's not only about passwords, but all about a lot of other things. Case studies in AI ethics talks about ethical issues when working with artificial intelligence and machine learning, and how we can mitigate biases, for example, or just avoid problems that might come up. Human factor working with users is a second semester course. It's similar to human computer interaction, but focuses a bit more on accessibility. How do we make technology accessible for someone with disabilities? And principle of design of IoT device systems. That one is a bit more technical, but is also quite interesting. I have not actually taken that course, but yeah, it is great. So this is just an overview of the courses that you might be interested if you, yeah, that I really just enjoyed. So we're coming to the kind of first tip that I have. If you could go into the next slide, please. Thank you. So the first tip is find out what you enjoy, try things out, and pick courses accordingly. The reason I'm saying this is because it is so much easier to pull through a course if you are enjoying it, right? If you are choosing something that you might be interested, but you don't know, this might happen, but it's going to be much harder to kind of go to the lectures, engage with the coursework, do the readings, because your interest will just not be there as much as if you are doing something that you really enjoy. So if we have, I don't know, we can maybe just do hand raising. So who already knows what their kind of overall topic should be or what they want to do? That's great. I can see a couple of people raising their hands. This is good. The thing is, if you don't know, which could be you're just very open, try to find out what you do, what you enjoy. Try reading articles, reading blog posts. Try just looking through the courses and see, okay, what is it that they're teaching? What are the learning outcomes? Is this something that I want to be able to do after? That would be something that you can just, yeah, go through and figure out, because it will be in your long-term interest to do something that you really enjoy. That might help you also for your future jobs and just long-term interests. So when you're trying to figure out what courses to pick, do look at the requirements, the learning outcomes, and the workloads. Sometimes they usually have a pie chart that says how many hours are dedicated to what. Less lectures will usually mean more self-learning. It'll be more readings, or it'll be more coursework, sometimes teamwork. So do see what you think will be good for you. Coursework only courses are great because you don't have an exam. At the same time, this means a lot more work during the semesters. So do see what you prefer and pick courses also according with that in mind. Also, if you don't know what courses to pick, ask your student advisors and potentially your cohort leaders for help if you're kind of stuck or you can't find a course that is really what you want to do. They might have a better idea. But do try to kind of look about. There's the path. I don't know if path is still used, but there's usually quite a long list of courses. And don't just follow what's suggested by a program, but do kind of go in with an open mind and see what will be easier for you. If you could go to the next slide. So the next slide will have a couple of pictures of what I got to do, a couple of cool projects. As I said, I'm quite interested in art, and I also during this, most of those were during my master thesis, my master's program, that I realized, oh, I actually really like the kind of tangibility of making things, of not just reading and talking to users, but also actually doing experiments. So so the sense break that you can see at the bottom left, that was an immersive project that was presented at they have a kind of exhibition at the end of the year, and it was quite cool because we talked about a festival and the noises of the festival, and that was supposed to be a bit of a break with kind of nature sounds, and it was a teamwork. That was teamwork, and that was over an entire semester, and we got to build a tent with everything, and it was very, very self-led based on the data we had. So that was quite a cool project that I really enjoy. The Alex, I want to teach you something at the very top. That was a design fiction, and if you are kind of more interested in that, you can like look it up. It's a kind of like a science fiction, but it tells you a story. So this was the kind of design method that I learned and I applied and I really, really enjoyed. And then there's a kind of other things. I'd managed to develop like a smart mirror. This was the one in the middle was a device, a tool to kind of test different um, the female versus kind of male voice, more male perceived voice of smart speakers and how that kind of influenced trust. And the very bottom bit, I developed a game for educational game for autistic children. So you can see there was a huge wide range of things that I've been working on. And most of them were group projects. I really enjoyed working with people, and that was quite a great thing. So do try not to shy away from group projects because they're a very great way to kind of get to know the people in your courses and become friends with them. And that will lead me to tip number 2, which is get to know your peers. So students at Edinburgh University, they come from all over the world. If you want to disclose that, if you want to tell in the chat where you're from, feel free to do that, because it'd be quite exciting to see who received all the offers as well. But what I want to say is that be curious, kind of meet the people and build friendships, because you will learn a lot from each other. And I can see Germany. This is where I'm originally from as well. Kuwait, great. France, wow, already so many different countries. Wow, Sudan. That is amazing. Imagine you could all meet and you'll learn so much about each other's culture and what your backgrounds are, the way of working during these kind of group projects. And also like if you just have your individual courseworks but you work together, you will form a very strong bond between kind of, all-nighters, crying and laughing and just enjoying it. So it is a great way, and especially people who are not from the city where the university is in, they're all kind of new, right? You're moving into this new city and you're trying to look for people, trying to make friends and trying to use that time. Great, love people from India, amazing. Turkey, cool. Try to use that opportunity to especially in the beginning, to kind of get some friends, form your groups. It could happen through courses, it could happen through events, it could happen through societies. There's actually a society that is quite close to my heart, which is Hoppers. It's a society for gender minorities in informatics, and they prepare regular events for personal, professional growth. They have workshops, they have networking events. They often invite companies in to give a talk about either a topic or do interview preparation. So they have like a wide range of events that will help you meet people and also just learn a bit more about it. Thank you, Nicola, for posting the link. I now have friends kind of all over the world, also like Switzerland, India, Germany, and Australia, even a friend of mine. In January, we went to a wedding in India of a friend. So it's really great to kind of see where people are ending up at as well and learning about their cultures. So yeah, what I want to say is basically master students are always looking to mingle, and do try to make use of that opportunity because it will be much easier going through all of your studies when your friends around. And now I'm coming a bit closer to Edinburgh. If you go to the next slide, thank you. So if you choose Edinburgh, I just want to say the reason I chose it as well, or one of the reasons, to be fair, Scotland is simply beautiful. So all these pictures are pictures that I've taken when I was on trip. So first one I think is Loch Tay, then you have Edinburgh, Loch Lomond, the fairy Glen of Skye. The cow was literally just waiting on the side of the street for us, and it's just amazing. So it was quite a funny cow, I think. It was just chewing along. So it was great. And then the other one is also somewhere in Loch Tay. And especially if you're not from here, it is really it's really beautiful around. I'm not saying other places are not beautiful, but this is one reason that you might be like, oh, actually, this is very nice. I like doing hikes or something like that. It's pretty. So this leads me to advice number 3. Thank you. That your studies are important, but so is a break and also enjoying nature. Especially if you're not from Scotland, do take the time to go onto trips and try to explore the country that you have now moved to. Even if it's just around Edinburgh as well, it's fine. I still do that after almost a decade here. I've actually been up north for a trip and took a dip in Loch Lomond just last weekend because my father-in-law was visiting, and it's just always breathtaking whenever we go. The school, like especially the informatics school and the societies, they organize regular trips. This might also be the case for other universities, but do make use of those opportunities because it'll be a bit cheaper. You'll go with other people, and you have an organized trip. So that's usually a great thing. And there are also a lot of places in Edinburgh, if you just want to do a wee trip, if you have a couple of hours, or you don't have the funds to go further, or you don't want to go further. I'm not gonna read them out, but yeah, if you come here and you feel like, oh, I don't know what to do, take a look at that list. I've been everywhere, and I can definitely tell you that this is very nice. Leading on to the next slide, which is something that is close to my heart. It's the kind of struggle to maintain all different parts, right? You want to study, you want to do a good job in studying. You also don't want to, stop sleeping or caring for yourself. You want to maintain a social life. I've been trying to say make friends, right? But this also takes time. Traveling and exploring things takes time and money, and also working. A couple of you might not be fortunate enough to just get a year through a year without working. So, and this is something I want to focus on this slide now. I have always been working from the very beginning from my studies. Usually it was about 10 hours per week, but during my master's, because I had to finance the master's myself, I was working about 30 to 40 hours per week. This is a red flag. Do not do that. I was working 3 different jobs. Some of them were, 2 of them were really not well paid. So it was actually not worth my time. I had to finance my lifestyle, the expenses that I had for other things. And yeah, I know, I appreciate that it's hard to live a year without an income. And I appreciate that some of you might have to work. So I'm giving you an advice on the next slide that the university does offer a great option of employment. There's teaching support, and I've mentioned that I've been doing that for years as well. Teaching support are students usually that are helping with marking assignments, that are giving tutorials, or are demonstrators when you have a lab, for example. They're just there to answer questions. And these people are valued, very well valued by course organizers and lecturers. The roles are usually well paid, much better than if you worked in a cafe, and it is a great experience for you. I have learned a lot during that time. I've learned about the administrative stuff that goes in there. I've learned about how to create courseworks, how to what's important when you do that. I built a really great relationship to the lecturers that I've been teaching for, and all of that. This is really great opportunity. Normally, they try to do it a bit earlier now, but allocation is usually done in the first couple of weeks, usually the first week. So if you are interested in being a teaching, helping with teaching, then try to look at the courses that you'd be happy to engage in, and maybe email the lecturer and be like, look, this is what I can do. I have experience in HCI or design or something, and do try to talk to them and see if this is something that you could do, and then also apply. I can definitely recommend doing that. If you're not from the UK, apply for a national insurance number as soon as possible, as it might take a couple of weeks to come through. You have to go to a certain appointment there. So it will take a while, and you don't get paid before you have your national insurance number. That's important. So if you want to do this, just be aware that you want to do this. Other opportunities to find other employment are through the university's career hub or through the career service. They are also amazing because they help you find a job after you finish your studies. They run regular courses on how to write a CV, how to prepare for an interview, what are differences between academic and industry jobs, all of that. So they've been absolutely amazing. They've been helping me and also helping my husband a lot, and I cannot recommend them enough, as they're not used enough. I think they also prepare the career fairs. There's a career fair usually a couple times per year where the companies come in and they talk about the opportunities, the jobs that they offer. So I can definitely, take a look at them. There's also other things like being a student ambassador, for example, talking to new students that will come in, or for open days and things like that. So yeah, take a look at what is there. There's also stipends and grants, which I didn't put in the slides, but because I don't actually know too much about it. I know there's some obscure grants where you can apply if you have a certain name. But there are also some UK-based grants. There might also be some local for your home country or even your city for you to go abroad and work. And sometimes they just cover your tuition fees. Sometimes they might even cover some living costs. So do take a look as well if you are a bit worried about this is going to be quite expensive and something. I can definitely recommend doing that. And if you go to the next slide, we can see that we can see the same graphic again, that especially if you worked as much as I did, like working and studying and trying to maintain the other things can be really overwhelming. It can be really hard. And it's okay if you feel overwhelmed sometimes, because there is help available. Like I had, for example, during my PhD studies, I had a baby and it just disrupted everything. We also had COVID, to be fair, but it made it very, very hard for me to cope with normal, like things that were normal for me. And if we go to the next slide, so there is help available, and I'm just going to link it there. I'm not saying any of you will feel unwell or overwhelmed, but if you are, so there is support available for you. And I think just knowing that it's okay not to be okay, and that there are people who will try to help you be better and get through this hard phase and come out stronger is important. It might just be helping not to fall into that deep hole. So there are a lot of student volunteers and student support officers who are absolutely brilliant. And there's also counseling service. So there's a wide range. You can have if you need a quick talk with someone, or if you need a bit longer help. Your student advisors and well-being advisors are kind of the first point of contact and might also already alleviate a lot of the pressure that you feel. And I understand if it's the first time you move countries or are away from home or anyone you know, this is going to be really hard. For me, it was very hard because I moved here and I didn't know a single person. It was really hard. I was a second year entry, so coming into the undergrad, people already had their friends and groups. So it was very, very hard for me to come in, and also not knowing the language properly. So I understand, I appreciate that this is hard. So like all the kind of tips that I told you, kind of find friends, find your peers, talk to student advisors will be helpful. If you are homesick, find a restaurant that cooks food from your home country. And remember that this is a year. If you are planning to only stay here for a year, just try to make the best of it. But help is available, and it's okay to take that help. USA, even like the university student, I forgot what it actually stands for. I think it's a student association. So they also have advice available, which is not specific to your school, but they do have also advice on finance, on housing, and on a lot of other things. So there is help. There's plenty of help available to help you get, through your master's as healthy as possible and without as much fear. So this was quite quite a heavy topic, I think. And I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm saying this is something that can just happen to anyone. And it might just be something like a breakup or you being sick or something personal that might just bring you over the edge and just add this amount of pressure to you that will make it hard for you to get through. So I'm not saying this has to come from studies, but this could be anything. For me, it was, for example, having a baby in the middle of my PhD in the middle of a pandemic, which was really, really hard for me. And pushing through that, yeah, was not an easy way, but I'm through that. Yeah. So we can now go on to the next slide, where you will see said baby, which is not a baby any longer. She's 3 years old now. And actually, I couldn't participate in the last session because she had an accident with boiling milk. Fun times. But you can see that she is reckless. She is absolutely reckless. And this was a challenge in its own. Trying to accommodate her and also trying to like deal with a lot of my studies, with working, and all of it is challenging. Was challenging, and I get anyone who has a family or plans to have a family, this is hard. It's also great. I can just say that she's made my life so much brighter and colorful that I'm not regretting having her. But it is a challenge, and I appreciate anyone who has a family that this is not easy. And I think it's great if you are planning to continue your studies while having a family, that it comes with its own challenges. So in the next slide, I will tell you a bit more advice. So I guess the first thing I want to say, having a family is not a deal breaker for your studies. You can still do your master's, or if you want to even continue doing a PhD after, because I feel like the university has been really supporting me in my journey as a mother. There is housing available. So the university has a flat lottery in spring, so you might be a bit late for that, but they have a house lottery for students in the incoming years, and there's a special category for families. So it is much easier if you're a family and you need a house. There's much less families for the flats that they have available. I don't know how it works for master students, Nicola. I don't know, but I'm saying if you are planning to continue doing a PhD, for example, afterwards, that this is something that you can keep your eyes open for. There's also a secret family room in the library that has toys, and you are also allowed to bring your child. I did not know that this existed. I have been, well, I was told off for bringing my daughter in to my office to work, because usually children are not allowed to in the university buildings, as your main responsibility is taking care of them. So knowing that there's a secret family room is not that secret, but I didn't know about it, and most people I talked to didn't know about it either. But there's one where you can just book your slot, and yeah, you can bring a child. They're happy if you're happy to play. They can play there, but you can also work alongside if you can't do that at home. It is a great opportunity. And what I found, that staff and other students were very, very accommodating for parents. When I couldn't come to a lecture, or because I still had to take courses with my PhD program, I couldn't come to a lecture, it was usually not a deal breaker, right? I had lectures once when I had to drop her off at nursery, so I could never make this one lecture, and it was fine. I talked to them, and they're like, "This is okay. Like, you can't. Your daughter is your first responsibility and the most important, so it's okay." There's usually recordings for a lot of the lectures. There are slides that you can do, or readings, so to catch up with what you've missed. So it's usually not a problem. And sometimes also bringing your child along was not a problem. So I think it all depends. If you're kind of open and you talk to the people about the issues you might have and try to find a solution, especially early on, it is not a problem. So I was quite surprised that how easy it would be to continue studying with a child. And this is also one of the reasons I remember that I wanted to come back to why my PhD has taken 6 years, because I had to take a couple of times off. I had a couple of interruptions. I had a year off for maternity leave, which is something that I did not expect, but it is something that I've done during my PhD. So I'm happy to answer some more questions about a PhD as well if you want to talk, but I haven't included that in the slides. So I think these are all the tips that I had. If we go to the next slide. Yeah, so just to recap all the 6 tips that I've said. So try to find out what you enjoy, try things out, and also pick courses accordingly, as it will be much easier for you to pull through and it will make it a much more enjoyable experience. Try to get to know your peers. Master students, especially in the beginning, they are all new and they all try to mingle. So try to make use of that. Go to societies, go to events, and try to just approach people in your courses. It's always a good thing to do. But don't despair if you're coming later than the first couple of weeks. It will be still okay. Number 3, your studies are important, but so is a break in nature. Yes, it is important, but do try to enjoy the city that you've moved to as well. Get to know it. Edinburgh especially is beautiful. I love it so much. You can walk everywhere. You don't need a bus pass. You can just you walk everywhere. Any corner you turn, there's something very, very nice. The buildings are beautiful. There's a lot of nature. The picture you can see here is also one that I've took. This is during the spring in the meadows. The meadows are literally next to the main campus, and it's a lot of like cherry blossoms, and it's just a really nice place. And summer people are having barbecues and everything, so do try, even if it's like a little thing like that. You don't have to go up north to do that, but yeah, do keep in mind that a break is important, which also connects to advice number 5, mental health. So advice number 4, the university offers a wide range of well-paid employment. If you need to work during your masters, it is possible. Try to pick your employment as with as much pay for as little hours as possible so you can still focus on your studies. And yes, if you're not well, support is available. I've mentioned the support that we have for at the school, but there's also a lot of other things available. But I'm saying it's okay to not be okay and to try and get help for that. And the last bit is having a family is not a deal breaker. And I've added quite a bit of advice on what is offered for people with family. And yeah, it's if you are studying and having a family, it is a challenge. It's not going to be easy, but it is doable and also enjoyable, I think. And the most important advice I want to give is enjoy it. It's a year. It's a year where you will be focused on studying, where you will learn so many new things, learn so many people. And it's just, if you are not from Edinburgh, or not from the place where university is, you are also kind of having this challenge of moving and getting to know a new place. And this is just all I think that for me, it was very exciting. And yeah, and I really enjoyed it. And as you see, I've stayed here for much longer than I actually planned.